Dr. Violet Kanyiginya is my name. I work for a research organization, KRC, Uganda. We do research and innovations in agriculture and climate change. So what stood out for me was the fact that agriculture is still leading in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions. Something that we need to reflect and really work hard on this time round, but also the ambitious targets in the NDC document, where we really need to work hard and see that we implement it. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kasaija Rachel with Environmental Alert, Secretariat of the ENRCC Network. And what stood out for me yesterday was the fact that this engagement is an intentional step by us as stakeholders towards moving this NDC 3 from just being a document on paper to something that is more realistic, people-centered, and locally grounded. By locally grounded, I mean, for example, the farmers that are this time around involved. And then in the long run, this promotes sustainable prosperity for everyone in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. I'm called Noreen Nampo. I work with Resource Justice Network, which as senior citizens nurse publish what you pay. What I take away from yesterday was around the very keywords of inclusivity and centered on people. But then I want to take it back to gender and then the children. Even in our conversation, you don't hear people dissecting the gender, whether you're discussing coal in as a source of energy to, you know, what we are using and the implication around all our interventions on women and then the children. So for me, not even the research, they assess the baselines, which also don't bring out the gender disaggregated information. So for me, the deliberations were good, but the gap is how do we speak to the realities and the life lived experience of the farmers, not farmers as anonymous group, but we are speaking to men, women, and the impact on the children. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's hold that thought. It will guide us today, especially in our conversation for today. I'll skip to the next table. Unless, Commissioner, you want to say something.
So that's something.
Please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, my take from yesterday's conversation, I think is coming out today. I'm here to document those areas where we need to improve. Seriously, the areas where I need to improve, the areas where I need to collaborate. Now there are issues to do with carbon trade and carbon markets. They are coming out at the level. So as government, we already have this information, but we are looking for the platforms. How do we disseminate this information and make it a little bit understandable? So if you are there as an organization and you want to deliberate on carbon marks and carbon trade, feel free to invite us. Can give you this information. Okay? We can have a discussion with you, can give you this information at your own cost, because the money which we have as government cannot enable us to reach everywhere, unless when we go to the television, we go to radio, isn't it? But in arrangements like this, you have organized for civil society in terms of NDC. Government has no money in this thing. Okay? In this meeting, government has not put money, isn't it? But it is at the will of the civil society that say, government, come and tell us what is this plan and how can you contribute to it. So arrangements like this, we are very much willing and available. Come and share information, share knowledge. So I think that as you try to program within your organizations, please don't shy away. Reach out to us that we have an engagement. We want you to come and facilitate. We can do better so that we can help one another. As government, we cannot really reach everywhere with the resources which we have. But if you have also resources doesn't stop us to engage and share information, share knowledge. That is very, very important. Then next is what I want to mention is that when we try to look at the NDC, the aspect of baseline, I've been taking people that their research which is not published. And this is going to doctorate to people who are here and researchers. There are researches that have been done, but they're not published. We cannot make reference to that because you have to demonstrate where you get this information. So as we try to do all this, those of you who are grounded into research, please, if you have done something which is authentic and credible, ensure to publish this because you can make reference to it. That is number one. Number two, if the intervention is really very good, but you are lacking baseline, again, it does not stop us to put that intervention in our NDC. Now, between now and 2030, when we start to implement it, we try to establish the baseline. Good things cannot be left out because there is no baseline. But we put them there, but now the responsible institution ensures that between now and 2030, you have established the baseline. And I think this is the message which we need to take on. Because we are not going to offer to leave out good things because we don't have the baseline, isn't it? But in actual sense, actually, they have good interventions for adaptation and mitigation, okay, which can be implemented, promote adaptation, resilience, and help us to reduce emission, avoid emission, isn't it? But because of a lack of a baseline, then we don't put them as part of our commitment. So I'm thinking that this cannot stop us. If we propose this, then we take it with the responsible government agencies that how do we work towards establishing a baseline so that we can measure that intervention at the end of the day. I think that is really very, very important. Number two, moving for today and yesterday's, that the interventions that have been proposed in the document we are discussing, our climate change action plan, which is the NDC, are informed by the magnitude of the problem. Magnitude of the problem in terms of mitigation is the greenhouse gas emissions. Yesterday, we were presented the greenhouse gas emissions and how sectors are contributing to those emissions and how they are projected to be in 2030, isn't it? About 170 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide, isn't it? Equivalent from the baseline of 2019, which is 112, isn't it? So meaning that all the measures that we propose under those sectors, are they going to help us reduce emission, avoid emission, or increase carbon sequestration? That's what we have to guide us. If the measure is not going to lead us to that, then it's not wrong, it's the wrong measure for mitigation. Because the ultimate goal is to reduce, avoid, remove, isn't it? Those greenhouse gases, isn't it? So the measures that we propose in those sectors should be leading us to that. So that now we can be able to respond to the commitment, which is about the 33.3% reduction from the projected. That's what it means. Now, it is the same thing that we're going to go through today, moderator, that you're going to present for us. They are going to talk about adaptation, isn't it?
Right.
They are going to present for us the risks in various sectors, meaning that the measures that shall be looking at, are they address the risk in our sectors? I think that would be the guiding principle. Of course, there could be areas where I do not have a baseline, as usual. But if the intervention is helping us to boost adaptation and resilience, it does not stop us to front it for NDC, and we make the responsible government agency establish that baseline.
Okay.
Yesterday also,
The last one.
the last one, I was also picked interest in the discussion while people are giving us feedback that some of these have too much commitments, isn't it? Yeah? Very ambitious. As the NDC is supposed to be ambitious and progressive as the guidance is, but again, should not be at the expense of our national circumstances. Whereas we demonstrate ambition, isn't it? Now, all those areas where we demonstrated either an increase or a reduction from what is there, isn't it? We are to take them to and discuss them with the responsible government agencies. Because as you may see that this is too much, you cannot go to 75%. And for you think that you can be maybe at 30%. Maybe there are plans in those government agencies where they think that it can lead us to that percentage, isn't it? So we are picking this, and then we say that this is coming out of the civil society consultation. This is how they feel about your sector in terms of NDC. So that is maintain the inclusivity and the whole of society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A warm welcome to those online. Colleagues online, we acknowledge you. I will give an opportunity to some of you, especially if you were here yesterday. After the 4 colleagues on the last table here make their submission. And to those of you who've joined us in the room, you're very welcome. Next table, please.
I'm called Oboja Albert from Adjumani district, a farmer. I'm very glad to get to understand that we, the farmers, can contribute to climate change. And at the same time, we farmers can mitigate this warming world. So I'm very glad for that. And I'm too excited because I am also part of today's meeting. This is NDC, and we are contributing also to the framework. So I'm glad for that. And really, when I go back, I'm going to make business because I get to understand that this carbon, you can even make the business of carbon. And we have been planting trees there. We don't even excel these things out. When we go back, we can also mobilize our fellow farmers on what to do, especially concerning these areas where refugees are, because these are the people who normally destroy much of our natural resources down there. So I'm very glad to be part of this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can call me Dennis Orion. I come from Apache. I'm the facilitator from a small-scale farmer in Apache. Yesterday, I came to realize that we as farmers, we are the victims of climate change. But I'm saying we are not only a victim, but we are the solution for the climate change, because the agroecological practices that we use in our field, we can manage to reduce climate emission in the community. And also the way we also practice our things in the field can also reduce climate change. Not only that, we as farmers also, we can manage our soil in the community so that the soil and the ecosystem around can also feel better, so that climate change cannot be so bad in the communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Odile John Robert, a farmer from Serere, as well as a TOT under SF Uganda. What stood with me yesterday, it is that the mitigations and adaptations. Then two, as Robert said, we as farmers, we are the ones who are polluting the environment. It might be true or false, but what we are going to say is that we are going to support climate resilient and climate resilient agriculture and agricultural practices. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, we have a new face on the table. You can introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I am Maxensia Nachiboka, working for Lunguja Community Healthcare Organization. I missed yesterday. I hear so much happened, and especially the carbon emissions that I have always wanted to clearly understand. But what makes me happy is our representative who came yesterday, Francis, did some some recap for me yesterday, and was like, tomorrow must be there very early, and gave me a little hint of what happened yesterday, and was so intrigued to be here today, despite the busy schedules. But I said, I must be there. Yesterday, I felt calm. Colleagues, we were launching a peace month with the Archbishop of Kampala. We are going to have a lot of activities in Kampala in the month of September, which begins next week. So that's why I missed. But today I said I should be here. I'll get it from Francis, I'm sure, and then I'll catch up. Thank you. I'm just excited for today's program. Today's program, and I'm sure it will be as exciting. Thank you. I'm also a member of CAN Uganda.
Very welcome and very nice to hear that you got the recap and it interested you to come. Okay, our online colleagues. Okay, I don't need to turn. If 2, 3, 5 of you can unmute and quickly tell us who you are, as well as what stood out for you yesterday, that would be wonderful.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're speaking to Paul Pax Lomoy from Karamoja Das of Dawn. Thank you so much. I think yesterday was very interesting with some of the new concepts coming in about the carbon trade. Yeah, and of course, looking at the NDC, it is also something good. I learned a lot of things, looking at where we came from, NDC 1, NDC 2 to NDC 3. But I think we have a lot of ambitions in this NDC, which is very good. But also, as we're thinking for this, we need to look into the funding gaps, because if you see the Uganda's climate ambitions, it requires massive investment, but the majority of the funds the majority of the planned actions rely heavily on external fundings. For instance, the past targets required up to 85%, as presented by the last presenter yesterday. You're looking at the NDC2, and only 15% come from within the country. Of course, imagine if 85% of the funding is coming from the international donors, meaning there's a risk. Relying on the erratic foreign aid threatens the stability and the timelessness of their projects. So for internal fundings, when it drops, of course, crucial long-term adoption plans will always suffer. So as we are really having this kind of discussion, so let's also look at maybe we need to see a way of increasing within the country, so that we can at least achieve the intended goals for the NCD. Thank you. Over to you.
Next, please. Thank you very much. Anyone unmuting?
Yes, Godfrey Onentho here. I work for Caritas Uganda, the Uganda Catholic Secretariat, and we have been a long-term partner of, in particular, a member of CANU, although we have not been so active on the CANU platform, but we are discussing that internally with them. Then, I came yesterday a bit late at the tail end. I got a presentation, the last 3-4 presentations, and I picked particular interest on the agriculture. And there was a presentation on agriculture, also because I have a quarter of my time is spent on farming. So I I was particularly concerned by the fact that I think agriculture continues to be one area where very limited attention seems to be paid. Although indeed it makes a lot of contribution, it makes some contribution to the green gas house and emission, but above all also its impact on the sustainability of the soil. And I think I picked that component, that proposal on the part of the group that made a submission, that a lot of effort needs to be made here in terms of how we can focus specifically on ensuring we have safe chemicals that farmers use on the farm and all these kind of things. But I believe that this sector in this NDC will receive as much attention as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Godfrey. Next, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm called Ashila Nathan Lokwan. I work with Rangeland Community Initiative, that is RCI Uganda, based in Kabong District, Karamoja, Uganda. There's something that I want to echo out, majorly on how farmers contribute to climate change. Majorly, this has touched me, that farmers have been making a lot of alarm in terms of droughts. So there is need for us to package this information and also take back to the grassroots level, to the farmers at the grassroots level, and let them know that they are also part of the contributors of climate change. Like, for example, poor soil management, where farmers always do continuous cultivation in a land without soil restoration, which can reduce soil. Without soil restoration management, there is need for us to do sensitization, to package these messages to the farmers, that an aspect also of deforestation, clearing of vegetations for cultivation, which releases which affects the soil. So we need also to tell the farmers to sensitize this information, that our activities also we do in the land contributes to climate change. But now what becomes always a challenge for CSOs, it's resources to do this kind of interventions, like advocacies, awareness, dialogues with the farmers at the village levels, because they do out of ignorance. There is need for resource to be injected so that partners can do awareness interventions, so that it becomes a contribution for all of us, instead of only farmers making an alarm, forgetting they're also contributors to climate change. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much. And the last one, preferably a female.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm called Zaninka Penina. I work with the United Organization for Batwa Development in Uganda, based in Kisoro, but operating in 80 districts where the Batwa are so far. I am happy to join for the day 2. And yesterday I was much impressed with the presentations. I learned a lot. I got to know that this is a topic where a number of stakeholders are involved, including the communities, the farmers, and the ministry, the CSOs. So it's a topic that really makes everyone to think. As Ugandans, we are moving forward with the NDC. As one of us has said, we started from 3-0, from 1-2 now to 3. It's much interested, but still we argue that everyone should get to understand its concept and get to know where and how to go about this. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to attend, to participate in the last sessions or the last day of the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Penina, and thanks to everybody. Thank you for this session. Please, let's give it a round of applause. Yes. Our country is well represented. I've had Karamoja, I've had Chisoro, I've had West Nile, I've had Northern Uganda, I've had Central. And there's a lot of diversity. We have the farmers, we have persons with disability, we have women, we have people speaking on behalf of the children. So the inclusion element, at least in terms of your presence, is covered. And now let us represent them even further as we dig in. I have been very pleased to hear words such as, yesterday was insightful, words like realigning. You're thinking about how to translate this into your institutional frameworks, your reporting, redesign, relating to farmers. That's very, very, very good feedback that the session yesterday was not only an opportunity to learn for all of us. You have embraced the opportunity to contribute and shape the direction of this NDC. And finally, for me, the intention that you're going to do something different about this is a very big output of this workshop. So congratulations to the organizers for bringing all of us together. I have seen our presenters for today in the room. They will be introduced. Can you please bring that? No, this one. Yesterday we focused on the problem, what causes climate change, the mitigation element. But today we are switching gears to the impact, where we will speak about adaptation. And like it was clarified for us yesterday, beyond adaptation is loss and damage. And I would like to, before I invite our presenters to help us start centering into that direction, just emphasize a few things that are coming out in the context of NDC 3.0. Uganda is expected to experience continued warming, increasing temperature extremes, and changes in rainfall patterns characterized by higher variability and more intense rainfall events. You don't even need to write this. It is there in the document. Now, this is a projection that has come out of some recent study, and it relates to most parts of our country. Let that sink in. It is expected to experience continued warming. Okay. To emphasize it a bit further, well, I think I've lost my notes. I wanted to read for you what that research is saying with regards to rain. I think it's over. Just for those who haven't read yet, I know some of you have. The observation so far about our climate. With regards to temperature, it's there in the document. Listen, the strongest warming signals are observed during the March to May and June to August seasons. Have you already experienced that? Do you agree with this research? The duration of warming spells has increased across the country. Do you agree? Duration of warming spells. with regard to rain, estimated increase of approximately 18 millimeters nationally and higher increases of up to 29 millimeters in northeastern Uganda. That has already been observed. That actually rain, the amounts of rain has increased, and the temperature has also increased, okay? But the research is not lost to the fact that there is a reduction in rainfall during the month of May. Has anyone really observed that? With deficits ranging between 20 millimeters to 40 millimeters. Basically, the first season is shortening from what the researchers are observing. So farmers and all of us, we need to also sharpen our observation skills around that and pay more attention. But the projections, in addition to this, are clarifying that there is going to be substantial increase in the frequency of hot days. And those of you who come from cold days, the projection is suggesting a decline, not just a decline, but a sharp decline, and that maybe by 2050, cold days will completely disappear. Okay? But the rainfall during May is projected to decline substantially. Now, hold these thoughts as we design, as we sharpen or improve the adaptation interventions, because our NDC, remember, continues up to 2035. With that, I'd like to quickly remind you about how our day is going to run from now going forward. We are going to pick up the speed. And we are privileged to have representation from the Ministry of Health, as well as representation from Ministry of Agriculture. We will start with the Ministry of Health giving us a presentation on the health adaptation priorities within the NDCs. Health is very important. Let me emphasize that heat stress is going to be a part of us going forward. But the Dr. Didas Namanya will explain further. We will then have a presentation from Mayib. Miss Imelda Kanzomba is around, and they will help us start centering into adaptation, and then the consultants who are also online right now will launch us into all the details of the priority adaptation actions and response to loss and damage. And once we have that presentation done, we will shift into the group work like we did yesterday. And without further ado, let me invite Dr. Didakas Namanya to please come forward and speak to us about health priorities. You're very welcome. Let's give him a hand. As we wait for him to step forward, how has that statistics landed for anyone? Anyone who wants to say something? The projections that we have in the NDC. Yes.
According to the statement or the brief you have given, it is worrying, especially for us, who are the farmers, who are depending on rain-fed agriculture. Secondly, I think we'll get someone, or you or someone else, go deeper, because there have been threats about El Nino. And they said starting September up to December, we are worried. Now I'm just giving a real example. As you have said, in May, the rain decreased. It happened because I grew maize about 3 acres, and I was expecting that I'll get the rain up to at least mid-June. But there was the drought came so early, which is even continuing up to now. In my area, some areas rain is taking place, but in my area, up to now, and now we are worried. And to make matters worse, when El Nino come, as they are saying, after a very dry spell, we'll end up in a very heavy rainfall, especially El Nino always, when there is too much rain, crops don't even do well. Rain is good, but when it is too much, it's again dangerous. That's what I have. I can say on that.
To move from worry to better prepared. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. By name called Onyenchan Kizito from NEBI, from Mongo Agroecological Farm. At the same time, happens to be with the NEBI district local government in the production department. So far this year, we had so many experiences regarding climate change. One, in January, that we didn't expect hailstorm. It rained with hailstorm. And moreover, it was late in the evening at night. And that was one key experience that I've never seen in my life, that even hailstorm can come at night. Then, from around May to August, we have recorded issues of disaster, maybe from probably windstorms and hailstorms. And these are some of the things that we have not been experiencing so much. So you find that with this kind of statistic, it is really very true that climate change has really done devastating experience to farmers, and I believe it will do more. So you find that crop have failed. The few that happens to plant, when they're expecting rain, you find the destruction comes or disaster comes and clear everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry we can't take any more. Our presenter is ready, but what do we do to prepare for worse is why we are here. Thank you. Over to you, Doctor. Oh, there's still a technical issue.
Yeah.
But I'm giving you 15 minutes. Your minutes are ticking.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here to present the health sector adaptation priorities. I think they have already introduced me. The presentation is with Anthony. I hope he's going to have it on the screen so that I can follow and you can also follow. Otherwise, I'll be talking to myself. But my presentation, if I can give a snapshot, it is talking about the health impacts from climate change. It is going to dwell on what is an NDC and what does it mean for the health sector. I will talk about the Climate Change Health National Adaptation Plan, which is our blueprint, our flagship plan to tackle climate change issues. We have already had a big input into the NDC 3. I will give the broad areas which can guide you as CSOs so that you can have your input as well. You may agree to put what we have put, or you may add from what we have put. So broadly, that will be my presentation. Anthony, are you ready with the PowerPoints? Okay. You know, technology always fails at the last minute. I've seen this in many conferences. But I hope it will not fail completely. Okay. The moderator is saying I can move. So my very first slide is talking about an NDC. What is an NDC? I guess all of you know what an NDC is. National Determined Contributions. And it was created under the framework of the Paris Agreement. Paris, now I'm using French. If I use English, it is Paris. Those are the two differences. I did some French so I can speak a bit of French. That's why I'm saying Paris Agreement, 2015. So it was established basically to tackle the reduction of greenhouse emissions. And the biggest greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide. That's why when we are talking about greenhouse gases, we are talking about the carbon footprint. It represents the major greenhouse gases, but there are many, methane and others. What are the key components of the NDCs? Number one is emission targets. Countries determine how much they can reduce of their greenhouse gases. And this is aimed at targeting getting less than 1.5 degrees Celsius temperatures. These gases, of course, affect the temperatures. I came in when you are talking about the temperatures. And what drives the temperatures is these gases that go into the atmosphere. The second component of the NDCs is the sector actions. How can we reduce the greenhouse gases? Is through the sectors: energy, water, health. Industries must reduce or must apply clean energy sources, which will reduce the greenhouse gases. So health, in that context, is a sector that contributes, globally, health contributes about 4.5 to 5.2% of the greenhouse gases globally. So we have a contribution, we have a carbon footprint, and we must be able to reduce this in order to contribute in the reduction of the heat and of the carbon footprint. The third component of the NDCs is adaptation plans. what are the sector-specific adaptation plans, and what are the national adaptation plans. Because these are the ones which are going to help us adapt and build resilience of the different sectors. Then the final one, very, very critical, is the financial needs. Can we do all this without finances? No way. So we need money. We can make a plan in the health sector as we have the HNAP. You can make the climate smart agriculture plan, but if there's no money, you are going nowhere. So the fourth component of the NDCs is money, finances. So we have financial needs as sectors. Go to the next. Now I need to bring your attention to how climate change affects the health sector. As you can see on the top line, those are the elements of climate change. We have water on the right side, which actually shows flooding. Temperature, the thermometer shows that the temperatures indeed are going up. Heavy rains and all that. It presents climate change. But how does it affect health? There are different pathways through which this climate change impacts health. So in the middle of this presentation, there are different ways. Vulnerability factors, we can talk about the population, the type of population, and what type of population do we have in Uganda? Are we very old? Are we very young? Are we diseased? You know, the type of population, the geography of our country. You know, we have the highlands, which are very prone to landslides. The type of rainfall that we experience, we are along the equator, we experience other things apart from rainfall, thunderstorms, lightning. All these factors are vulnerability factors. Then you come on the exposure pathways. How do we get exposed? Okay? And then finally, the infrastructure, the health infrastructure, the workforce. Are we prepared? Is our health facilities, are they strong enough? Are the health workforce prepared and aware? Do we have the governance? Do we have the plans? Then in the end, these are the climate sensitive health risks. At the bottom, the zoonotic diseases, the injuries and deaths. By the way, climate change is a health crisis. All the things we are talking about, if there was no health impact, like death, like injuries, we wouldn't be here. I can argue that climate change is a health crisis. If there was no death and injuries, we wouldn't be talking about climate change. So all these impacts, the non-communicable diseases, the waterborne diseases, the vector-borne diseases, result into death, morbidity, and mortality. And that's why we are here, to reduce the mortality and morbidity of human beings. That's why health is central to the whole discussion of climate change. This diagram, next, let's go to the next. I am pressing on my computer and I thought it had come. There's somebody doing this. So again, this is an emphasis of the same diagram I'm talking about. It shows the risks at the center, climate change represented here by heat, but having an impact on the health outcomes, the health infrastructure, the disease burden, the injuries and deaths, okay? This is another way of understanding the impacts of climate change on health. Next. So what have we done in the health sector to counter this climate change? In 2021, in Glasgow, UK, during the COP26, the Ministry of Health made a commitment. Number one, to conduct a national health climate change vulnerability and adaptation assessment. Number two, to develop a health national adaptation plan. And thankfully, we have been able to achieve these two very important steps in tackling climate change. So this provides a rationale for the health sector tackling of the climate change impacts in the health sector. Let's go next. Now, I will give a snapshot of the impacts or the risks that are caused by climate change in the health sector. When we did this assessment, and we did it in 43 districts across all the regions of the country, and in all regions, you can talk of ecological regions, you can talk of the low-lying regions, the highland regions, all the regions of the country are covered in that context. The biggest risk was drought, accounting for almost 50% of the responses that we got. And our focus being health, we focused our unit of assessment was the health facilities. And we did this in over 700 health facilities of different levels. And you know the levels we have from health center 2 up to the national referral hospital. In between, we have health center 3, 4 general hospitals, and regional referral hospitals. So we did over 700. So it's a good sample. We did this scientifically. So the biggest problem, the biggest risk is drought, followed by floods, of course. Rain, we have a lot of rain in Uganda and a lot of water. Storms, these are windstorms. The next one was rise in water level. You may be interested to know that our health facilities have been affected by rising water levels. Butiaba Health Center 3, which is located on Lake Albert, was completely submerged in a few years ago. Kilembe Hospital, a whole hospital you can imagine, was completely washed away in a matter of hours. It is no longer there, okay? Actually, that picture you see here is the Kilembe Hospital. Can you imagine? Do you see how much we are impacted on in the health sector? But I think in other sectors as well, schools, roads are also affected. We have other impacts and risks, landslides. We have lightning is becoming a big problem. We have heat waves and cold waves. All these are impacts on health outcomes. When there are floods, of course, there are multiplication of vector-borne and waterborne diseases. The infrastructure is affected, and so on and so forth. That table also shows how the impacts and the risks are impacting on health, the impact on the health workforce, the impact on water, sanitation, and hygiene, the impact on energy services, because you know we work with energy, some surgeries, lighting must be available for health services to be delivered. So these heavy rains affect some of those services. Infrastructure, technologies, products, and supply chains are all affected. So out of this assessment, ladies and gentlemen, we were able to develop the HNAP, the Health National Adaptation Plan. It's a requirement according to the Climate Change Act and according to the NDP for now. All sectors are supposed to develop their HNAPs. And I will show you on one of the slides how this feeds into the national adaptation plans. But what is our vision? Our vision is to have a responsive, adaptive, and resilient health system that protects and promotes the health and well-being of the people of Uganda, all the people in Uganda. That's our vision. And of course, it aligns with the NDP4 vision in terms of natural resources, in terms of environment, protection. The department which I work with is environmental health. And this one looks at environmental cleanliness, ensuring that there is clean water, clean, safe water, ensuring that there is proper healthcare waste management. So it aligns with the NDP. What's our mission? To establish a responsive health system that promotes inclusive. That word is very critical, inclusive climate change adaptation measures. And we are talking about adaptation. Inclusive means we should provide services for all the people in Uganda, the elderly, the youth, the young, the disabled, the women, the men, to the extent that all our data in the health sector is gender segregated. Okay? The indigenous people, when I came in, the person who was speaking online was from the Batwa, the indigenous people. They are marginalized. Can we offer services to them as well? The IK in Karamoja, can we offer services to them? So this plan aims at giving services, climate sensitive services to all the people in Uganda. Of course, the goal is there related to those issues that I have mentioned. So I have already mentioned that the health sector also contributes to the climate carbon footprint. And it contributes about 4.5 to 5.2% of the global carbon footprint. But for Uganda, we have not been able to do, there is a gap there. We have not been able to do what we would call the baseline study of the contribution of the health sector to the greenhouse gases. This is something we need to do, and of course to develop a plan, clear plan to target greenhouse gas emissions in the health sector and reduce them. Although we are already doing this, we are doing what we call solarization of the health sector. In the past year, with support from Gavi and Global Fund, we are going to establish big solar systems to over 250 health facilities in the country. I'm sure that will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that are being contributed by those facilities. At the same time, we are also trying to plant trees at our health facilities. Most health facilities, especially in the rural settings, have a lot of land. So we are encouraging planting of trees. And what type of trees? Fruit trees, indigenous trees, which can also have other benefits, other co-benefits for the health sector. Now, our HNAP is based on the World Health Organization building blocks, or the climate change framework. And this framework, go to the next slide, the one in charge. It talks about climate resilience and low carbon. So it tackles the two twins of climate change, mitigation and adaptation. We are saying we should promote activities or priorities which reduce greenhouse gas emissions and at the same time support resilience or adaptation. So it talks about governance, policies, and frameworks, both at the national and subnational levels. It talks about raising awareness within the climate angle among the health workforce. We call it climate smart health workforce. Early warning systems, research, all these building blocks have been transformed into 10 components of the HNAP. But before I go ahead, if you look on the right-hand side of this presentation, you'll see how the HNAP feeds into the
national adaptation plans. Ideally, the country like Uganda should be having adaptation plans in every sector. Talk of education, talk of agriculture, energy, water, and so on. And all these plans should be forming the national adaptation plan. For Uganda, we are not yet there. There are a few sectors which have been able to do adaptation plans, including water and sanitation, of course, health, agriculture. I don't know about education, energy. Do we have national adaptation plan for energy? Maybe not. So we are a long way to go, but the process is ongoing. So as I mentioned, guided by the framework of the World Health Organization, we developed the HNAP, and it has 10 components. Could you go to the next slide, please? It has got 10 components. In the health context. One is strengthening climate-informed health systems and surveillance. This is a broad area. It can talk about surveillance of the diseases that are climate sensitive and so on. Some of the details in this are already in the current draft of the NDC 3. So you can examine this and be able to add, but don't subtract. You can only add, but don't subtract. Number two, prevention and control of climate-sensitive diseases. These are very many diseases that we have in our country. Cholera, malaria is the biggest, because when there is flooding, stagnant water, multiplication of the vectors, that is the mosquitoes, we have outbreaks of malaria. We are expecting El Nino. With that, you can be sure we shall have malaria upsurge, malaria cases, because the mosquitoes will increase. So there is that component or that action. Number 3, climate resilient health infrastructure and service delivery. Is our health infrastructure sensitive to climate change? Okay? There are all actions that we can do to strengthen. First of all, to revise the guidelines and standards, and we are already doing that. And other actions that can help strengthen the infrastructure so that is resilient to climate change impacts like floods, storms, lightning, and so on. Lastly, the health workforce. These are the people who do the work. Community awareness and governance. What actions, adaptation actions can we promote? Again, the details are already in the current draft. I hope it has been shared with the participants, and they can scrutinize and be able to add, but not subtract, because this also went through very rigorous processes. Ladies and gentlemen, through the moderator, I want to thank you for listening and to say that we need to continue action, act for climate change, act for health. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Didas, for that. Before you step down to your seat, I will allow for 2 questions from the floor here, and if there is any online, please raise your hand and we'll be guided on who is raising the hand. Any questions for clarification, or do you have any remark that you'd like to raise to the good doctor? Okay, that is 3 men. Women, you're not raising your
Women
hands.
also.
Let me see if there is any female who would like to make a contribution. None. Okay, I'll take the 3, starting with you, sir.
Thank you. I am called Aloysius Orako. I work for Kota in partnership with Action Aid in Mvepi Refugee Settlement. On the last slide, you just mentioned around an issue on the workforce. My question or concern is, how do you integrate the workforce, but also training within your institutions, or you're waiting for these people to be into the workforce so that you can probably train them on the adaptation methods? So what is the ministry's uptake on integrating this straight into the institutions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Namanya, for the presentation. It's well constructed, I must say. But one of the pillars of our actions relates itself to sources of funding. We as Uganda, we as in the Ministry of Health, we as actors in the Ministry of Health have developed a very good HNAP, but don't have money. My interest is therefore for you to highlight where we can look out for this money to implement the HNAP. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Didakas, and thank you for the great work in putting the NDC. As Africa Climate and Health Alliance, we reviewed the NDC, and we noted that it has been inclusive, especially looking at priority measure on strengthening inclusive emergency preparedness. We have assessed other 8 countries, and it's only Uganda with this inclusive component. So we thank the government for that. However, we noted in all the priority adaptation measures, there's none on financing. And we're assessing the other countries, people, Malawi, Ethiopia, Algeria, Cameroon, Benin, Comoros, that have submitted the NDC already. And we're looking for $63 million to implement the HNAP of Uganda. We see that you don't have a component of financing. So we have proposed an adaptation measure on financing, which you shall communicate to the plenary. So I think it's a paramount for the financing. As we look for the $60 million, we must have it as adaptation measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. And finally, online, we have Godfrey raising his hand. Please take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. This is again Godfrey Onenthoff from Caritas Uganda. I liked that presentation very much, and because mine were 2 particular concerns, maybe this is not so clear to me. That is, how do we link the interventions to under health to public health issues out in the communities, apart from getting interventions within the health facilities? Do we have specific interventions in the communities that are meant to, that focuses a lot on prevention, you know, of the effect of climate change on health? That those community-based health epidemics and other things that are linked to climate change. So I don't know how much the health NPA, for example, covers this and the next course of action. And then the last one is again to do with the financing. I think this cuts across. And when Bond recently, I had an opportunity to go as part of government overflow, and there was an informal consultation, I remember, by the chair of CSOs and so on. So on finance, they were talking about the finance work program, and specifically the question was, I remember there was that very controversial issue where I think there was so much pressure on developed nations to contribute money, but again we could also see the reluctance. We didn't really receive much commitments. But again, I raised an issue, and also to the head, for example, to the head of African negotiators, when later, through our Catholic something, we organized an interaction with him. So the question I was raising was, apart from monies that are finances that are up there, with you know, out there in the, how can we look inward to be able to mobilize resources locally, to be able to intervene? I know that we don't have a lot of money resources locally, but if climate change is our priority, is there a way we can put our heads together to mobilize a significant amount of money through different innovative approaches? I was talking about, for example, polluter pays principle. How can we apply this, for example, you know, to our factories here? What would be the effect on these factories, their survival, and on the economy? Would it be such that it would destroy them, or would it be better to pick money from them and put in climate change, some money, some percentage? I don't know whether we are charging anything. And then other, you know, frameworks locally. So can we look inward a lot more than looking out there in order for us to get some resources that can enable us, particularly in the health sector, is very critical indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Yes, Doctor, you can take the questions.
Thank you very much for all those questions. That shows that really this presentation has touched on the context of this discussion. The first question was on workforce. How are we integrating climate change and health in workforce training? 2 angles. We have started this process of impacting on the curriculum of the training of the health workforce. We are working together with Makerere School of Public Health to do, first of all, needs assessment You cannot impact or have develop something without before you do a needs assessment. They are doing a needs assessment, which will help us to, integrate climate and health concerns within the health training schools. That's number one. The people who are already in service, the workforce which is already working in local governments at national level and so on, we are developing guidelines. These processes have just begun because the HNAP was launched 1 year ago. So we are in the first year of implementation. So we are developing guidelines. We are raising awareness. We have been to over 50 districts where we meet with district health teams and raise awareness, make presentations, and get questions, and raise awareness about climate change and health of the health workforce. So those are two ways in which we are tackling that. The second question from my OB at university, asking about funding. Where is the money? We have the HNAP, it is worth $63 million. When we compare with other HNAPs in other countries, ours is the smallest. But do we have the money? We have some money. Government is not sitting down waiting for the money from the UN, from the World Bank. No. Money is already funding some activities of the HNAP. So GOU is funding some money. And by the way, it is important that you start small. We must not look at big money, 50 million, and so on and so forth. We are already doing some work. We are already doing some work on the ground, developing tools, disseminating the HNAP, and we are already having some impact, doing some modeling, and working with some of you, the partners here, the CSOs. We have been working with the Reproductive Health Uganda, Regenerate Africa, AMREF. They are funding some of these activities, and we have that impact on the ground. So as we look for bigger money, and we have put some proposals, some are already promising. We have a fund of about $3 million in the pipeline, and a GCF is coming. Another amount like that, 5 million from adaptation fund, it's in the pipeline. But you all know the processes in those organizations. They can take 3, 5, even 6 years. We started as early as 4 years ago, but we are now beginning to see some green light. The money, the concept, pre-concept, concept, full concept, the board has to determine all those processes. Meanwhile, climate change is coming, El Nino is coming, but we have to go within that framework. That's a global framework. So money will come. The next question was on emergency preparedness, financing. I'm happy that you have added that. You have not subtracted. So we can review that and see how does it fit within the framework. But I said these components which I presented are broad. If you look at the details within the NDC 3 tables, there is a bit of financing there. There are some indicators showing financing. So we can strengthen that with the proposal that the participant asked. Lastly, it was on from Caritas, again on financing. I think I've mentioned that we are already getting some money from the GOU and local CSOs, and this is highly complementary to what we expect, bigger money and doing bigger things. But you start small and move on, including the local finances, local knowledge, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please give him a
Bigger. Yes, please, you may go back. And as you go back, there is an interesting contribution from the floor this side. And there are some organizations that have some money to convene meetings where they would like you to come and raise more awareness. So
Very happy to join them, to work with you.
yes, please.
Thank you so much.
I'm afraid we are running out of time, so please, another hand clap for Dr. Didakas. Thank you for helping us see the health implications of climate. Now, our next presenter is speaking online. And this is Miss Imelda from the Ministry of Agriculture. I'd like to first have a quick check if you are already online, if you're available.
Yes, I am.
Excellent. You're very welcome. Please take the floor.
That let me see how my video.
Okay, you have the floor with or without the video. I'd
Okay,
like
no
to
problem.
offer you 15 minutes to please make the presentation, and then we will have a quick engagement.
No problem, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know what has happened to my video. Are you hearing me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm sorry, my video has failed to work, but it's okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for not being with you there, much as I would have loved to be with you. I couldn't because of other engagements. But you know, I love CSOs and I work with you closely, and I'm happy to be here. I thank you for the invitation.
Imelda,
Yes, please.
I've been advised that you should run your slides so we can see them from here.
But I had sent the presentation to Anthony. Do you want me to share from this side?
Yes, please.
Okay, just give me a minute.
Okay.
And I share my.
Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay.
You could
For those who
put
don't
it
know
in
me, those are my names. I'm Imelda Kanzomba. I work with the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. And just a minute. You know, these technical things are not easy. And I am a Principal Agriculture Officer. I'm the climate change focal person, but I'm also the lead negotiator for agriculture at the NFCCC. So I was requested to make a presentation on our agriculture adaptation priorities for the NDC 3.0. I know my colleague Didakas has just explained everything regarding climate change. I wouldn't want to go back to that. I was just spot on, given the time you gave me. So I just wanted to be as precise as possible and to the point. I hope my presentation is very visible. I don't know, because I'm seeing it small here. Is it visible? Kindly tell me if it is. Sorry.
Please put it in your presentation mode.
I don't know what has happened now.
Can
Are
you
you
put it
seeing
in
my?
You need to put it in presentation mode. Otherwise, we see it.
You see, the problem was Anthony told me, I thought he had done what he was supposed to do. So the challenge is I'm looking for my car. Sorry about that. But you know, technology is technology. I'm looking for, okay. Let me see whether it will work.
It should be somewhere down.
I can't see, I'm looking for it. That's why I'm saying I can't see it. I don't know why. Because I know where it is. Down here, let me see. Okay, let me first close
Do you
it.
see WPS PhD?
Just a minute.
Okay.
Where?
After home, up at the top left.
Yeah, at home. Uh-huh.
Go
W
to
where? This is real serious. I'm sorry. No, I'm confused. The thing is not working the way I want.
Okay, if you go down to the bottom right, there is an icon.
Bottom right. I know it's supposed to be down here, but when I click, it doesn't come.
I see. Okay.
And then I'm seeing the presentation changing. When I'm not in sharing mode, it can. I don't know what has happened. God. Just a minute.
Imelda,
Yes, please.
let us share from our side.
I think it would be better because you see now I'm just trying to adjust in a short time because Anthony told me to send and I sent the presentation.
It's fine. Our IT
Yeah, I'm
can do
failing
it
to
if you.
adjust. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
And let me wait for you people to share. Let
But you
me
have to
stop
stop
sharing.
sharing. Okay.
Let me stop sharing. Sharing screen. No. These things of technology can be funny. I think I've stopped. Yes. Yes, that is better. Thank you. And those are my names. I've already introduced myself to you. As I already told you, I work with the Minister of Agriculture and Industry and Fisheries as the Principal Agriculture Officer, but also the Climate Change Focal Person and Lead Negotiator for Agriculture at the UNFCCC. Thank you. Next, please. Yes, as I told you, my assignment was to present on the adaptation priorities for agriculture in the NDC 3.0. One of the main priorities on scaling up gender responsive climate smart agriculture, agroecology, and sustainable land management, including soil and water conservation and restoration of degraded agricultural land. As you see this, it's a mouthful. It's quite a lot. It needs to be, if you don't unpack it, sometimes it gets difficult. I try to unpack and try to tell you, I tried to explain to us what all this means. And I started with sustainable land management. Well, we are talking about soil and water conservation and restoration of degraded agricultural land, where I would say strengthening soil and water conservation to conserve soil and build resiliency for droughts and floods. And the current soil conservation practices are quite enormous, but we have the current ones that involve a combination of vegetative and mechanical structures, include terraces, contour bands, trenches, grass strips, trash lines, stone lines, mulching, tied ridges, cut-off drains, check dams, micro basins, and conservation agriculture. So you see, it's really quite a mouthful. But when you go deeper, you see a lot of things. Now I try to unpack climate smart agriculture, because people just talk about climate smart agriculture, but some of them don't know exactly what it entails. Other things are left out, and they get what they feel they are comfortable with. So I try to unpack it for us. And I'm telling you that climate smart agriculture adaptation practices sustainably increase agricultural productivity, harden farming systems against climate shocks, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So one of the climate smart agriculture initiatives, I would say, is soil and nutrient management, where we look at conservation agriculture utilizing minimum or zero tillage to preserve soil structure, retain soil moisture, and prevent severe erosion during extreme weather. When you do conservation agriculture with these three key components of zero or to minimum tillage, and then you also make sure when you do that, the soil structure is maintained. You retain the moisture and also prevent erosion during extreme weather conditions where we have a lot of flash floods and so on. And then it also involves precision nutrient management. Here, when you're doing climate smart agriculture, you make sure that you're applying the fertilizers, that is, if you're using fertilizers or conventional or non-conventional, they are site-specific fertilizers. You do at the exact point, the crop, where the crop is, the right rate, time, and place to maintain crop yields while stopping nitrogen runoff and volatilization. Because the other conventional types, you'd maybe others just broadcast urea, and there's a lot of volatilization. And when it rains, it's wasted. But when you're doing climate smart agriculture, it's precision, direct on the crop, and the crop utilizes it to improve the yields. And then integrated soil fertility is also under climate smart agriculture, whereby you're combining chemical fertilizers with organic fertilizers. You can use compost or green manure or biofertilizers to build resilience and biologically active to have biologically active soils. You know, when you are using those the green manure, the compost, there is a way the soil density increases, and then the vulnerability to those climate risks reduces to some extent. Next, please. Yes, now I said CSA continued. I was trying to make sure that we understand climate smart agriculture in that package, what it means. And we look at water smart practices, where we look at the alternative wetting and drying. And this is like in irrigation, where you do periodic drying of irrigated rice, that is in paddy rice. The rice fields to slash machine emissions, and this is up to 50%. When you do this in the paddy rice, you reduce the emission of methane in the atmosphere, but also you drastically cut water consumption without reducing the yields, because there is a lot of water wastage, like in paddy rice. They are flooded throughout. Whereas if you do when you alternate, you dry the place and then flood it again, you are conserving on the water and also reducing on emissions, being climate smart in a way. So we also under water smart practices, which is under climate smart agriculture, we look at the drip and micro irrigation. This is one of the things we are doing as a ministry. A lot of it, we are promoting a small scale irrigation. And here, when you do the drip, you're trying to deliver water directly to the crop roots. This eliminates evaporation losses and maximize water use efficiency during severe droughts. That even when you have little water, it is well used and the crop can thrive, because when you use the drips, the water drips at exactly the root point of the crop, and the way the drips are designed per crop is different. They consider the spacing and so on, instead of just pouring or flashing water the whole garden, where even sometimes it's not needed. Some of it is evaporate, some of it even erodes the soil. So here you use it's precise to the crop. And then we have rainwater harvesting. All these are climate smart agriculture practices. Building farm ponds, check dams, and micro catchments to trap seasonal rainfall for supplemental irrigation during dry spells. Now, this is very important because we have a lot of water in Uganda and a lot of floods, mostly in the eastern part of Uganda and northeast, and the water is wasted. But when it just shines again for like 2 to 3 weeks, the places are really, really dry. So being climate smart is making sure that you utilize that rainwater, harvest it, and so that you can utilize it in terms of scarcity. Next, please. I continued again to talk about climate smart agriculture in all aspects so that we understand it very well. And I looked at crop and variety selection, whereby we have to look at climate resilient cultivars. These are varieties of different crops, sowing certified drought tolerant, flood tolerant, or early maturing seed varieties optimized for shifting local weather windows. Our Narrow National Research Organization has done a lot in this, and you can actually get some of these climate resilient cultivars or varieties in different crop varieties, depending on what you want to grow. And then diversified crop systems is also one of the climate smart agriculture approaches under the crop subsector, whereby integrating multiple cropping, crop rotation, and agroforestry to spread climate risks and prevent single crop failure across seasons. Here you're trying to have quite a number to make sure that in case one fails, you have a fallback position. You don't lose completely, and even the economics also, the economic value also. Like for some of those cash crops, you can maybe when you're doing agroforestry, I don't know what type of tree you go for. If it's a fruit tree, if it's coffee, you will know that if the beans have failed or the maize, I'll catch up in the coffee, or I'm doing some other crop. So that mix and the rotation breaks the disease, all the disease patterns of the different crops, depending on how you do the rotation. And if it's done very well, it's one of the climate smart agriculture practice that is advocated for. And then I looked at the digital and weather services. All this is under climate smart agriculture. Climate information services, they provide farmers with mobile-based weather forecasts, seasonal predictions, and early warning systems to optimize planting and harvesting schedules. When the farmers get to know when to plant, when the rains will come, they plant on time and utilize the short rainy seasons that we are now getting. And by the time the rains are stopping, the crop is mature. Given that if you have already short maturing early maturing varieties that you've planted, or the drought tolerant varieties, but also when they get the early warning information, they know when to harvest, because sometimes we have a lot of losses during harvest time because of not knowing when the rains are going to be there and when, because in the morning it can shine very fast, and then you put your crop outside, as you go, then you find that all of a sudden it's raining, and most farmers don't have enough labor. You find that there's a lot of intoxication. That's when we get the molds and so on, aflatoxins in maize and so on. So that's key also in climate smart agriculture. We have index-based agriculture insurance. Here you're utilizing satellite data to automatically trigger financial payouts to farmers when drought or flood thresholds are crossed. This depends on the data that is collected in order to compensate the farmers. And I wanted to talk about agroecology clearly. I know in that room there are people who advocate for agroecology and feel so passionate about it. And one of them yesterday sent me a message and said, you see, they are confusing climate smart agriculture with agroecology. It's not the case, but agroecology does exactly almost the same as climate smart agriculture, but for agroecology, it uses the indigenous crop varieties which are resistant to drought and diseases, and also the ecological environment. And it's also climate smart in a way. I don't know whether it's the word, but it's also climate smart in its own way, agroecology. So I wanted to tell you what agriculture does. It's more of on-farm diversification and cropping systems. Like there's a lot of mixed, not single stand for us who grow crops, like pure stand of maize. In agroecology, you'll find that they advocate for a lot of mixed cropping, and there are a lot of different advantages. And they're saying intercropping and companion planting, whereby growing complementary crops together. So like millet and cowpeas. In my home area, they grow millet and cowpeas, and they grow very well. And in this case, you're optimizing the nutritional beet use and then reduce crop failure risks and improve family nutrition, because cowpeas are rich in protein and millet is a carbohydrate, and here you're balancing the diet for your family. But in that case, you are maintaining the natural environment while also preserving the eat at the same time. Yeah, okay. Somebody's talking about regenerative agriculture, but all that we shall handle here. So crop rotation, I told you it's already in climate smart agriculture, but comes here even in agroecology, alternating different crop families season by season to break the pesticide, because I'd already talked about that naturally, and maintain soil fertility without heavy chemical inputs. When you do crop rotation, so for example, you're rotating when you have cereals and legumes. When you plant a cereals, for example, millet or sorghum or rice, and the next season or maize, and the next season you plant beans, cowpeas, groundnuts, you're breaking the cycle of the diseases that were affecting the other cereals, but they cannot affect the legumes that you have planted again the next season. And then we look at genetic diversification and agroecology, utilizing locally adapted. That is the key of agroecology, utilizing locally adapted, traditional, early maturing and drought-resistant seed varieties to withstand unpredictable weather extremes. So agroecology, the things are local, natural, traditional, and that is agroecology in the environment. So I wanted to bring that clearly. So that was I was explaining the first or priority action, which was on climate smart agriculture, ecology, agroecology, sustainable land management. And then 2 is on climate resilience, irrigation, and water harvesting. This is a mouthful also. Expanding climate resilient irrigation, water harvesting, and water systems for crop and livestock production with equitable access to smallholders. That is the second priority, adaptation priority for agriculture. And here I'm trying to tell you that modern irrigation and water harvesting technologies act as critical climate shields by securing water availability, boosting crop yields, and preventing soil erosion during intense droughts or unpredictable rainy seasons, but also for livestock, for pasture growth, and watering for the animals. So water for animals and pasture growth and availability. When we do irrigation, when we do water harvesting, we really increase production in the livestock subsector. And on top of that, even we reduce mortalities, the deaths that are caused by severe droughts. So when we grow enough pasture, when we have, we can even preserve the pasture, and when they have enough water, animals can really thrive and survive, and their production is not affected. So when I'm talking about agriculture, I'm meaning both livestock and crop. In some cases, I forget to talk about livestock, but they are together. So I talked about micro irrigation here. I looked at the micro.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but kindly wrap up in the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
I think I'll be through, but the problem is I have a lot of agriculture in my head. I find talking a lot. Anyway, let me just run it through. Okay, micro irrigation is high efficiency, 85 to 95%. And here I'm talking about drip irrigation. I'd already talked about it. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, climate resilient irrigation. We are looking at overhead sprinkler systems. You have seen all of them, but I've already told you drip has high efficiency. The overhead sprinklers are medium efficiency, and then we have the surface or low-tech irrigation where we use the furrow or Benson irrigation, and this is done mostly for surface irrigation, which is mostly for our big irrigation schemes, like Doho and so on. We have the water harvesting. We know there are micro, ex situ harvesting, where we have farm ponds and water pans. We have check dams and sand dams. I have not explained that, but this is ex situ. Then let's go to the in situ, whereby we look at the micro catchment harvesting. Here this is what you have also to know, that is a water harvesting technology, whereby you're using contour bands and ridges, where you use the zai pits, where you use the semicircular earth bands. They're like crescent shaped earth bands facing uphill, like they're like terraces to catch water, mostly used in the rangeland rehabilitation and growing of fodder or fruit trees. So these are also water harvesting technologies. But most of you, when we talk about water harvesting technologies, look at the dams and only that, and then the rooftop. So here there's the rooftop and structures harvesting, where we look at rainwater catchment. This is actually what exactly happens, the usual one that we know. Emerging water harvesting technologies include small basins, semicircular bands, and a system combining trees and shrubs with the use of contour ridges proved very successful in collecting runoff in areas with low rainfall. So collecting runoff is one of the water harvesting technologies that we underlook. Then the third one, we're looking at promoting climate resilient crop and livestock production through tolerant varieties, adaptive breeds, improved pastures, fodder systems, and improved household diet diversity. This is talking about the genetics resources for crop breeding and seed systems functionality. The varieties, I've already talked about them. Next, please. The crop provider finished. Okay, livestock, mostly we are looking at livestock production. We are looking at highly adaptive livestock breeds to climate change, improved livestock and poultry breeds and management system practices, because the breeds have to go with the management practices and the feeding regimes. Viable livestock breeding schemes for climate resilience and facilitate and support establishment of quality pastures, where we're looking at grazing and fodder, feed resources, feed banks, and strategic reserves. Because with that, with climate resilience, you have to look at the feeding systems. We are looking at how do we preserve the fodder or the pasture for future use. And this has to be, we have to have fodder banks. And this has to be intentional. There are a lot of farmers doing it in Chiruhura, whereby they're harvesting and selling hay to the neighboring farmers who cannot. Next, please. The fourth, I think, climate-proof post-harvest handling, storage, processing, and market infrastructure in climate-sensitive value chains, and uptake into household diets. This is another one. And we are looking at better drying and handling of crops. Without that, we could have aflatoxins and so on. There is a lot establishing marketing centers in rural areas, bulk and long-term storage facilities, value addition, like coffee hullers, rice hullers, maize milling machines, threshers, dryers, and so on. Continue, please. Climate-proof post-harvest handling, we are looking at climate shocks like unseasonal rainfall or intense heat waves during harvest, accelerate water loss and microbial growth in fresh produce. Now, rapid field heat removal. When the heat is rapidly removed, there is it increases, there is rapid respiration and hence decay. So there should be a way of trying to slow down the rapid heat removal, and then vapor pressure deficit management for hotter, drier air accelerates moisture loss. And it is with this, you have to make sure that if the temperatures are managed. And in some cases, like for livestock, where we have dairy products, the cooling systems are very, very important to make sure that we don't make any losses. Now, climate resilient storage, we are looking at resilient storage, which acts as a buffer against structural and biological threats. A lot of farmers have been using the hermetic sealed storage, whereby they make sure that they suffocate the pests without heavy chemical resilience. And even then, they block the atmospheric moisture. Those fluctuations help. So the pests die. A lot of people are using the hermetic bags, mostly in the eastern part of Uganda, to counteract that. Then no energy cooling systems. I've already told you about the coolers. They would work better for the livestock and other horticultural crops. Vegetable and fruits maintain stable, cool temperatures and high relative humidity to that naturally. So with this, you can be able to avoid the losses. Hey, the speed is too much. The one changing the slides. Okay, at atmospheric control, commercial cold storage chambers to slow down crop aging, prevent chilling injuries, and inhibit fungal rot exacerbated by high humidity. Those are key things that you need to know when you're talking about climate resilient storage. Let's go about to the next, please. Adaptive processing and validation, primary stabilizing processes. We look at the mechanical solar dryers or biomass-powered hydrators for safe moisture thresholds. We look at secondary processing, diversification. We are looking at milling grains into flour, fermenting vegetables, or puring fruits to keep the puree, which they mix to make the juice later as a preservative. Processing and value addition, and then renewable energy integration, whereby centralized solar arrays, biogas generators, or energy efficient machinery. This is all good for processing and also value addition, and hence we reduce the losses, which was on post-service losses. Next, please. Now, we looked at agriculture insurance. Under this, the main point is expanding inclusive agriculture insurance, risk financing, and shock responsive livelihood support for climate vulnerable producers. This is one of another priority. And under climate insurance, we are talking about the use of weather information to assist rural communities in managing the risks associated with rainfall variability. Variability is a potentially effective preventive option for climate change adaptation. It's applicable to all systems, particularly land-based systems that depend heavily on local feed availability and are more vulnerable to production failures. When we look at feed, we're looking also at livestock and also crop. Let's continue, please. I'm almost through. Under agriculture insurance, this acts as a vital financial safety net that transfers the risks of climate change, extreme weather, and market volatility away from the farmers. The farmers are secure when they have the insurance. And one of them is the index-based insurance, climate smart focus. This focuses on climate, okay, it's climate smart. I don't look at the other ones which are not very climate smart. So weather index insurance triggers automated payouts based on objective weather data. That is, we need to have very good weather data if we are going to this climate insurance business. Then area yield index pays out based on the average yield of the entire district or region falling below a historical baseline, rather than assessing individual farm losses. So this is for a region or a district. And then the satellite, using the satellite images, they utilize this normalized difference vegetation index, satellite data to monitor pasture health, and automatically triggers payouts to livestock herders during severe droughts before animals starve. And this is very key for the cattle corridor. Can we continue? And I would like to thank you all for listening to me. I try to rush a bit because of the time given to me, but I'm available for any questions, and I try to be precise to the point to what I was given, to the assignment I was given. Thank you for listening to me.
That is a hand clap appreciating you very much. You have
so
not
much.
only introduced us to the key actions that we need to see in the NDC, but you've even
Yes.
gone into the nitty-gritty that probably will appear in the implementation plan. So thank you very much. Unfortunately, we have moved into our break time, so I'll allow only 2 burning questions, preferably from farmers, but addressed to Madam Imelda. I see there are 2 hands here, and if you see any hand online, I'll take the 3rd.
Okay, I will gladly answer that in case they come in.
Excellent. Okay, so here we go.
Thank you so much, Imelda, for
Yes,
this
please.
wonderful presentation. That speaks so much to what people are getting out every day to do in their gardens.
Yes, please.
Last month, a colleague who works with Aware Uganda in Karamoja shared some devastating videos of what is happening in Karamoja. And all of us know the country is mobilizing food to take to Karamoja. Having all of these good ideas in place by the government of Uganda, what could be the problem that is failing us or fail government to make sure that Karamoja can have sustainable agriculture in place? And we look up to fundraising food, collecting food, looking at donor support, instead of putting sustainable systems there. What could be the problem?
Could you mention your name as well?
Maxensia Nachivoka Ama, we are members of CAN Uganda.
Thank you very much. The second submission, please.
Thank you very much. Simon Bukenya is my name, and thank you very much, Madam Imelda, for the wonderful presentation. I work with Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. First of all, I am the one who raised that issue to Madam Imelda. When you read through the draft NDC that was shared with us under the agriculture sector, you see that one of the figures has climate smart agriculture practices, including agroecology. That is extremely wrong, because agroecology is a holistic approach. Climate smart agriculture is more specific to agriculture. So if we are to even bring it out, some practices of climate smart agriculture would actually fall under agroecology. Some, not all. We have political issues surrounding those 2 concepts and terminologies. So that needs to be corrected. And Madam Imelda knows that very well.
Can I answer that? Simon, please stop there. Now, let me answer Maxensia first. Maxensia, the government is doing all it is taking to make sure that the Karamoja is food secure, but mostly in the livestock subsector, We have done a lot of water harvesting facilities, the valley tanks and dams. The government has constructed quite a number with the Minister of Water and Environment and Minister of Agriculture and Mines and Fisheries. And for the agriculture subsector, the challenge is also, I would say, I've been in Karamoja several times, and I think also there's also mindset change. You know, those people were mostly cattle keepers, and embracing agriculture crop is not also very easy, because I've been there. I'll give you a case in time where you find that a farmer is growing this local gobe, and the neighbors and the other girls are going to work for the gobe in the neighborhood when they could also plant it. So there's a lot of mindset change. We have a whole National Agricultural Research organization session there at the Zadi there in Nakapiri, and they're helping them. Those farmers who can grow crops, they can. They have a very long, good rainy season, but the problem is the mindset, because they can really grow and they have very fertile soils. So we need to work together. Maxensia, we need to work together so that we help the farmers change their mindset and also help them produce food for themselves. That's what I would answer. I'm very passionate about what I'm saying, because I've been there and I really feel bad when I feel they are dying of hunger when they can really grow crops. There are very many organizations trying to help there, but nothing is coming out through. So we need to work together and see, maybe it's beyond that. And for Simon, as I told you, I tried to unpack, and I did it intentionally, because if we start agroecology packing it alone, I saw somebody here posting regenerative agriculture. And Simon, you very well know that when we go for negotiation, you know the issues we have. Everybody want to put theirs across. Regenerative agriculture, nature-based solutions. We cannot put everything, but you find that they work together. And I've tried to bring out how agroecology is very important, and that's why we couldn't. If you look at our adaptation priorities, when you look at them unpacked, you see them as small things or very few things to do. But when you unpack each and everything, it is quite a mouthful, and we may not even actually be able to achieve everything. I would appreciate that. I would like to ask you to appreciate that agroecology is appearing there, and somebody of nature-based solution like regenerative agriculture, somebody was telling me, and it's not there. But does not mean that we're not promoting. We're trying to make, whatever we're trying to do is to make sure that farmers become resilient and adapt to the climate change shocks and impacts. I hope I've answered you. I'm very sorry if I haven't answered you clearly, but that's the time that was given to me. But you can give them my email, and some of them have my phone number. Simon talks to me every day. We can take it out from there.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we can agree to disagree as well. But thank you so much, Imelda, for that very insightful presentation.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And I'm sorry I've missed interacting with all those people. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It also suggests that there's a lot more to learn and to share from the room, but unfortunately we do not have that time today. We may need our partners to reconvene to help us have another such a session.
We should actually. I promise to be there fully next time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So from me, we may need to add a bit of gender in the section for agriculture, but that is part of the discussion we will be having.
Actually, it is the first one is gender responsive climate something. The gender is there. Only that I didn't talk about it this time.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, break tea. Please, let's break.
Enjoy your break tea and bye.
Thank you very much, Imelda. And online colleagues, please step up and take a walk. Okay. As you move to pick your break, I kindly request that we use only 15 minutes. So for those who will not have picked your tea by then, I will reconvene the team so we can start. But I also have an announcement. Okay, the owner has come for it. You're welcome. When we return, the consultant will start us off on the details within the NDC.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to reconvene. I will offer you 1 minute to get back to your seats or to quietly pick your cup and back to the table. All right, I'd like to check if our consultant, you are available. You are on your desk. Hello, Moho.
Hello, good morning.
Excellent. Good morning. Shortly, I'll introduce you and we'll start off with you. Okay. So colleagues, we have to save this time, which is refusing, to hold its speed. I trust that you can bring the attention back to me now. Thank you very much. Okay, so now the workshop begins. I think we've been in a much more of lecture mode, but we are soon launching into the real work. And I'd like to invite our consultant covering adaptation to now bring us back into the document itself, NDC 3.0. Thank you for being present early. I kindly request that we work together to sort of manage time. And by that, I mean I'm going to slash some of your minutes. I suggest, or we suggest here, that you introduce us to the key, speak to the risks, but also introduce us to the key, hold on, I lost my notes. But basically, help us go into a sample of some of those sectors. If you could do up to 3, it will help us in the room and online to understand the flow of the content as it is in adaptation, so that then shortly afterwards we can... Thank you, Robert. We can then get into the groups where we'll have all the guidance jointly with the reference of the document itself, so that we can, as much as possible, take from your experiences into the document. Otherwise, we might not achieve that which is our main objective. And with that, I suggest I offer you up to 17 minutes to guide us through that. And at midday, we'll come in with some questions, midday our time. Just questions for clarity. If you think that you really need to clarify something from what has been said, I'll offer you an opportunity. Otherwise, within the groups, we are going to clarify so much for ourselves as the stakeholders here today over this matter. That said,
over to you, Moho. Please introduce yourself and take it away.
Let me put my video on so that everybody in the room can see me and get to know me better, and at least you put the face to the voice, and then I can then turn it off and go through the presentation.
There you are.
Yes, hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Moho Munapula. I am responsible for climate change adaptation component of the NDC, and also loss and damage and yes, the entire adaptation and loss and damage. So the way that I'm going to go through it, I'm going to be as quick as possible, but try as much as possible to cover key elements that would enable us to participate and engage during the breakout groups and contribute towards improvement of the NDC, and as well as providing guidance that is needed to make in this NDC what we need it to be for it to be implementable and helpful for the country. So with that, I will switch off my video and then share my screen so that we can go through the presentation. Please let me know if you can see my screen, if you can see the presentation.
If you can put it in presentation mode, yes, we see it.
Okay. So I will quickly walk you through the priority adaptation option proposed under the NDC 3.0 and also loss and damage. So the sector, I mean the adaptation section or adaptation component of the NDC has 14 sectors and had about 66 priority measures with baseline and targets. And so since these are structured in a similar way, I would, instead of going through all of those, I have picked 3 sectors, forestry, ecosystems, and biodiversity and climate mobility, to kind of give you an understanding of how these have been structured and also how the targets are, and also what has been key critical issues that had been covered in the adaptation component. But before we start looking at the measures, let me briefly start with the climate risk content. I think this has been mentioned before, and we have a good understanding what the current climate risks are, and also how the future is looking like for Uganda. And so we see that we've already been experiencing the increasing temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, drought, floods, landslides that are induced by heavy precipitation, and extreme heat that then this bring about risks that are differentiated if you look at how people get to be affected, because when it comes to climate risk, not only hazards can be risks, there are other issues that had to come into existence that then determine whether this is a risk or not. We're talking about issues related to exposure. So who is exposed, what is exposed, and also the capacity to adapt, and all that. So if you look at my slide here, it's just to give a good indication of what we consider as district adaptive capacity. It's very low across the country, with few, I think about 6 that have moderately high or relatively high adaptive capacity. And this gives an indication that the country has a limited capacity to adapt or to cope with the climate impacts. And also there's that unequal distribution of this and also with different groups of people being at risk. If you look at women, children, youth, older people, persons with disabilities, refugees, they all face compounding barriers based on their exposure, their vulnerabilities, and also their capacity to cope with unequal distribution of the climate impacts. So just to walk you through what is in this NDC. This NDC had quietly improved, I would say, compared to the NDC that we are currently implementing, that is up to 2030. Here we've brought in a new sector, which is climate mobility. We've brought in issues of loss and damage, which are issues that are beyond what adaptation can handle. And also we've tried to integrate adaptation across all the sectors, and also having we try to integrate gender aspects across all sectors that had been considered for as priority for adaptation. And also we've brought in an element of conditionality. So if you look at in the NDC 3.0, we classify the proposed adaptation measures as whether they are conditional, unconditional, or mixed. I think the most important thing to bear in mind is that for us to be effectively, in implementing or finding overall support required for implementation of the NDC, we need to have a clear understanding of what measures could be undertaken domestically and what parts of those measures can or depend on the additional support that for us to implement. So the NDC 3.0 classifies the proposed adaptation measures as unconditional and conditional, or also mixed. So with unconditional being means that Uganda intends to implement with the action that can depend on the domestic resources and national capacities. Conditional being those that are proposed at scale that require additional support, which may include finance, technology transfer, and capacity building. Mixed recognizes that in many cases in Uganda, there are already investments that had been done in certain areas within each sectors, or there's policies that are in place, or there's already activities that are happening to enhance capacity nationally, and therefore those are already being taken care of and can still be implemented with the national capacity that exists. So the important thing to note here is that when you consider the mixed, we do not take this as 50-50 split. It's a conditional measure does not, they have not been split each measure or each sector table states the specific domestic or international components that can make up that split. So let me now go through what has been in the NDC, and I'm going to go through it by illustrating 3 sectors that I spoke about, and first one would be forestry. If we look at forestry, in forestry we have the proposed sector outcome, which is to ensure that forest landscape and forest-dependent livelihoods are resilient to drought, wildfire, pests, diseases, invasive species, and ecosystem degradation. And through this outcome, there are 5 priority measures that currently are being proposed. These include intensifying afforestation, reforestation, climate resilient forest landscape restoration, scaling up agroforestry, community forestry, diversified forest-based livelihoods, and also promoting gender responsive sustainable forest management, while scaling up commercial forestry and improving the efficiency of wood and non-wood forest product value chains. So with these measures, we have identified the baselines and yes.
Just to interrupt very briefly, the visibility is bad. The fonts are so small.
Let me just, okay.
And this is an important slide. Is it possible for you to expand it a bit? Yeah.
My apologies.
Thank you. It's better.
Okay. So I've mentioned just in summary the priority adaptation measures, and for each priority we have a baseline. We have the 2030 milestone, and then the target that had been set up to 2035, and this is this is how it's structured. And the key thing to remember is that I mean, on the conditionality, most of this are conditional. And when you go through the report itself, then you will see, because on that we had specifically mentioned what are the actions that can be considered conditional, what are the actions that can be considered unconditional in the mix. And also, I think the other thing to note is, as we review this, it is highly important if there's additional information that can validate or that would revise or that would improve, then during the groups as we discuss or we start working, then we can bring that to surface and also share. So that is the critical thing. This is the forestry sector. So another sector that I wanted to bring it up is ecosystems and biodiversity. Same thing, I will just increase the font for visibility quickly. So the proposed outcome is that wetlands, peatlands, rangelands, mountains, riverbanks, lake shores, and biodiversity are protected and restored so that they continue providing ecosystem services and supporting human resilience. And this outcome, it will be implemented and achieved through 5 priority measures that have also set the baseline, the target, the milestone and the target, and also with the mixed conditionality as well. So in a report, then you will then see which aspects of this measures are mixed, conditional and unconditional. And also the same, I've still emphasized that as we're going through this, then we need to look it in the eye of trying to enhance, improve, or add anything that would actually make this more implementable with real and values that are more realistic to achieve. So like I said, we also have the 5 priority measures. First one focuses on restoring and protecting wetlands and strengthening enforcement against encroachment. The second one covers restoration of riverbanks, lake shores, and peatlands, including establishment of national peatland inventory. The third focuses on mountain ecosystems and degraded rangelands. And the fourth, it focuses on to implement the climate action through the National Biodiversity Strategy and scale up ecosystem-based adaptation. And then the last one, which is the fifth one, strengthens ecosystem governance, information systems, natural capital accounting, monitoring and payment for ecosystem services. So the targets had been set for each of those, and that's how it has been structured. Sorry, I wanted to quickly jump onto climate mobility as the sector that I had picked as an example. So the third example is climate mobility, which for the first time receives attention in the NDC 3.0. So we know that climate change affects people's ability to remain where they live. And we also understand that repeated disasters, they change livelihood conditions and can contribute to migration and displacement, and also can create additional pressures in areas receiving people where we host refugees. So this does not mean that every movement or displacement is caused by climate change, but mobility is usually influenced by several factors. But climate change can act as an important driver or risk multiplier, especially already when you're already hosting, as we know that Uganda is already hosting a lot of refugees. So therefore, the outcome that we are having here is climate-related migration, displacement, and refugee hosting dynamics are managed through rights-based, anticipatory, and people-positive adaptation. So here, the first, there are 3 priorities. The first one is to integrate climate mobility into national and local development, urbanization, livelihoods, and adaptation planning. The second one is the measure that focuses more on displacement, which is including anticipatory action, safe and dignified planned relocation where necessary, livelihood recovery, and also continuity of essential services such as wash, health, education, and protection. The third focuses on refugees and hosting communities with the idea is to strengthen climate resilience in those refugee hosting districts and improving cooperation and planning around these pressures. So you can see that all these are classified as mixed, and within the NDC itself, that the copies that you have, then you will be able to determine to see which aspects of a measure proposed that is being considered as conditional and unconditional. So these are the measures, and also to wrap it up with loss and damage. So so you know that, I mean, I've touched on the adaptation. So but we all know that an effective adaptation cannot prevent every climate impact. There's always some residual risks, and therefore there are limits to adaptation. So some impacts may occur at an intensity or scale beyond the capacity of communities, ecosystems, or infrastructure to cope. So this is where loss and damage comes in. So I would exit the presentation mode and yeah. So let me just increase the font. So so I think the simple distinction is that adaptation is about preventing or reducing the climate impacts, while loss and damage concerns the adverse consequences that cannot be fully avoided through either mitigation, adaptation, or where adaptation has not been sufficient. So loss and damage can be economic. This may include the damage to infrastructure, homes, loss of crops, livestock, businesses, productive assets, and livelihoods. But loss and damage can also be non-economic, and this is where it includes a loss of life, impacts on health, loss of biodiversity, loss of cultural heritage, traditional knowledge, identity, community cohesion, and displacement. So in this NDC, we do have 3 proposed measures. The first one is to strengthen governance, data, asset, and reporting. The second one is stronger financing, rapid response, recovery, and reconstruction mechanisms, including contingency finance, prearranged finance, and shock responsive delivery systems. And the third one is looking at strengthening policy coherence with longer term programming and international engagement on loss and damage. This including attention on slow onset events and non-economic losses. So that likewise, we have all mixed, and these are the measures, and we can go through the NDC, and the idea is as we review, let's be very critical in terms of finding ways to improve and bring information that is lacking in it to surface, so that everything else can be incorporated as we go into the discussions. So I think I will pause here, unless if maybe there are key things that you may feel like I need to highlight or discuss before the breakout groups.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Shall we give her a hand clap? Okay. Colleagues, you've been listening to the presentation. There's a lot more that she hasn't even touched. But let me check within the room if there is any question for clarity or a burning remark, comment. Okay. Only one? Two. Is there any online? Okay, let's take them quickly and then we'll start with the group work.
Thank you for the opportunity. Okay, mine is not a question. It's a very big concern. This one is specifically, I think I'm addressing it to MAIF or to the Ministry of Agriculture. There are a lot of interventions that the government is doing to address climate change and also improve on farmers' livelihood and well-being. But in the past few years that I think I've been in the system, because that is where I'm directly involved at the district level or the sub-county level. There's a matching grants for most of the programs. We've seen ACDP came, micro-scale irrigation scheme also came. At the moment, we have issues of Uganda Climate Smart Agricultural Transformation Program also running. But now you see the government is doing a very good thing that a farmer should also be able to make matching grants or cost fund some of these projects. But when you look at the cost of the interventions in an open market is much more cheaper than what the government is trying to promote. For example, we've seen those who are into animal or into livestock. You find a bull, a breeding bull, the government rate is at 10 million. But when you go outside here in Nakasongala, you find them around 3-4 million, even 2 million. So you find that farmers, instead of adapting the government interventions, they shy away, and you find that the programs has come to address the climate change, to address poverty and the rest, but poverty is instead being growing every single moment. So I think it is good for this house. Maybe you will also influence the government for some of the interventions that they are bringing in as far as climate change and other livelihood program is concerned. I know it is one of the adaptive measures that we are going to bring in of promoting climate resilient livelihood, of which the government will say, if we want this program, you can fund. So it's just a concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's have the second contribution, please.
Thank you, our presenter, for the previous presentation. Lukanga Mrs. Samuel, once again, is my name. Looking at the measures, there's one area that I am still concerned about. Although His Excellency, the President, has been very loud on this matter of wetlands and forests and keeping them secure. Some of us down there who are working with the local governments, the local politicians, and the local technical people, we are still finding a problem between who is right and who is stronger, the politicians and the technical persons, especially when it comes to enforcement. This country has many rules and regulations and so on that would secure our wetlands and the forests. But the implementation, enforcement is still a problem. How different are we going to have this done better in this NDC arrangement? Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. I am not sure that our consultant will address that, but I'll give you a chance.
if you'd like to say a word, otherwise, forgive me, colleagues, I've been multitasking, thinking ahead for the next session. Mr. Tenywa, if you want to say a word related to that question, I can give you an opportunity, but first, the consultant, over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the comments. I think at this point I will hold back not to provide any feedback and then allow you to continue into the group discussions. I think after the plenary there'll be more that then I can give any feedback based on what we collect from there.
Okay, if I got you right, you're encouraging us to switch into the group work. I see a hand that is staying up. I'll give it a chance, but you make the submission in under a minute. We would like to start on the group work before the lunch. So after you, we start clarifying that.
Thank you so much. I'm Murumba Matthias Suna, and I think I'm a common face. I lead the coalition on Nile Basin discourse in Uganda, and also from CEPAD Global, which is a member of CANU. I'm concerned about the discussions going on, and since yesterday I was online, today I was physical, but I find them too technical for the farmers with whom I work in the Nile Basin communities. Consultant, when I look, for example, at the previous presentation, can it really be interpreted by our CBOs, our communities, our farmers? What's the plan, especially with this new plan, for us to make sure that it sinks deep to the farmers? Because these issues are not affecting us here at Africana in this conference hall, but it goes down to our farmers in Chikandwa and other places. And we seem to be doing this repeatedly. Every other year, we produce these documents, but they don't sink down. How do we make sure that some of these things are translated into the language that the farmers understand? Thank you so much.
I cannot be effective in multitasking, especially when I am managing time. But thank you for that question that you proposed to the House. I'm going to request Mr. Semambo to say a word to it. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you very much. Since the person who was asking questions, common face, I'm only one who's not common in this room. So let me also stand so that you can see. I think there are two questions. When we were here yesterday, you said, I say what, but let me say what, sir. Because they are going to help in the group as well. This one is not loud enough. So I'm told that, okay, there are two questions that have been asked and they are very important. I committed yesterday not to answer any question when we were doing the opening up because we are in this together, we are planning together. But I think it is also important to provide some bit of insights, but not answers, but insights, because I said I'm not going to answer any question. Now, that being a joke, it is one element. I think let me start with his. How are we going to be sure that this plan is implemented? How are we addressing it in the plan? Okay? You can, there are two things. There is planning, there is implementation, isn't it? Implementation is at the will of those who are executing the plan, isn't it? Planning is all of us to plan, isn't it? But implementation is at the will of those who are executing the plan, including that it means that it is everybody's responsibility to implement. So what am I saying is that here I just need to talk about how do we strengthen the aspect of governance. It is a question of governance. How do we strengthen the aspect of governance? But also as we think about strengthening governance, okay, how do we increase our individual responsibilities? Also very, very important. So that's why we say that who has the power between the technicians and the politicians? They all have powers because they have clear roles and responsibilities. Okay? So there would be question that we need to think about. How do we strengthen governance in the planning, but also how do we strengthen governance in the reality beyond the planning is a question of all of us. Okay? But this does not stop us from planning because the laws are made when there is opportunity, isn't it? The laws are made when there is a challenge, isn't it? So when you recognize the laws that they are very important is when you're on the wrong side of the law. But the government has to have a law where when it gets you, it can quote that law under which you have to respond, isn't it? So what am I saying here? That it is collective responsibility. We don't stop at strengthening governance in this document, but how do you make it a reality? Those are the things that become continuous when executing these plans. Then number two is that how do we interpret this? The interpretation of this plan and taking it down is not a responsibility of one government agency. That's why the plan is multi-sector. So after finishing this plan and it has been signed and reposted the UNFCCC, it means that those who are in production, they have to trickle that, isn't it? Until when it reaches the people on ground, the element of production. Those who are going to deal with energy over the plan, they have to take that responsibility, isn't it? Those who are going to deal with the waste management, isn't it? Or waste resources, they have to pull out what is it that's picking their mandate and then see how they implement it. So in terms of articulation of this plan, what it means in the society is the responsibility of various government agencies. Me, when I come to the community, I just tell them we have a plan, isn't it? I'll be just talking comprehensively that the plan addresses agriculture, waste resources, etc., etc. But in terms of practical implementation of this plan, it is not going to be the department responsible for climate change. It is rather those line government ministries, management agencies, and the local governments to filter out what the plan is speaking out of them or commands them to do, and they see how they mainstream them in their work plans and the budget, in the projects, in the programs that benefit the community, the society, ecosystem, and infrastructure. So it is that we have to think about, that it will don't expect a one government institution to implement this plan. But all of us will have to take it down, but also including our political leaders. And I think this is really very important. How do we tell the local leaders that this is the plan which we have for ourselves? It's not only aiming at dissemination and giving people out, isn't it? How do we put it into practice? But I think also that one is really something very important. That's why I talk about mainstreaming of climate change. And when we issue a certificate of climate change compliance, I'm happy that Honorable Kaya is here, is that the baseline that we have been making reference, isn't it? At what level are sectors integrated climate change making a reference to the NDC coming out of what it speaks to their sector? It is one of the measures that we quote assure and award more if the sector demonstrates that the measures that they are putting in the budget framework paper are actually reflecting their commitment into the NDC. So this is how we should look at this in terms of how do we package this information. Now, this can be translated in various languages, as I've mentioned, but it starts by sectors putting out what speaks to them to ensure that they program for them for proper implementation in projects, programs, and budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Emma at the back, I need your help. Please step up. Okay. Sorry, not Mr. Ten, the IT one. So I have here the groups, but Emma, I still need you here. It has failed. The email is failing to save the draft so that it can send to you.
I think it is also very important. I think Moho mentioned this, that we have about 14 or 16 sectors of adaptation in this draft NDC. Her presentation just focused on the few of them, just to give us an example of how they are being organized. Does not mean that the rest are not in the document which has been shared, okay? It was just pointing a picture that this is how those measures are being treated in the real NDC. So when you go into the group works, don't say that this has not been presented. Now we are going to dive deep into what is exactly existing in what? In the documents. So it is not only about those 2 or 3 sectors that she has presented that they are the only one. Is that we are going to look at. In the groups, I think we are going to look at all the 14 or 16 sectors, but the arrangement and how they are being presented, it takes the same format. That you have the intervention, you have the baseline, you have the target 2030, target 2035, and then the element of the conditionality. The conditionality, I think, should have mentioned this because we have 2 conditional. We have 3 elements of conditionalities. There are those that we think that they are 100% unconditional, meaning that we can implement them with our domestic sources and capacity. Now, there are those that we think that they are 100% conditional, that we can only do them when we have support in terms of technology, finance, and the rest. But again, there are those that are dual, okay? That we can do this much with our domestic resources, but we can do more if we get additional what? Resources. So those are the boxes that we are being seen on this side, shaded the blue, I don't know which other color. So those are the conditionalities. So the whole of this has been arranged into that, and the presentation which Mo has just done is just to sample 3 sectors, but in the groups, I think we're going to look at all the sectors. Thank you.
Thank you for making that my work easy. Now, colleagues, would like to break into 6 groups, and Mr. Bachika, please come closer. Hussein, can it wait? Okay.
Okay. What it means that before you came in the morning, because you agreed yesterday that will come early, and I suppose that whoever sat behind there came late. Eh? No, eh? People are saying no. Okay. Now, when you are seeing this NDC draft document, the 3.0 as it is, there are very many areas in adaptation and mitigation which says that no baseline or to be determined, isn't it? So when, before some of you came, I did mention that there are certain interventions. Indeed, when they are done, they can contribute to mitigation, and when they are done, they can contribute to adaptation. But when you try to search around, or the team is saying that there's no baseline, we don't know whether that is true or not true. So in my guidance is that if the intervention is really very good, and if implemented, can address mitigation or can address adaptation, but it is just lacking baseline, we don't need to leave it out. We can take it on, well knowing that between now and 2030, the responsible government agents have to establish a baseline. So because we may leave out important things in the disguise of not having baseline, isn't it? So that was my guidance, that if you fit that this intervention is really very, very important, but it is only lacking a baseline, isn't it? My recommendation that we don't leave out those things we are going to promote adaptation and resilience or contributing to removal or avoidance of climate what? Or avoidance of greenhouse gases. We take them on, we propose to take them on, but in the background, we have to ensure that the lead government institution establishes a baseline before this plan comes into actual implementation. Okay? So this is what I wanted to contribute to. Because when we did the stock take, there are very many indicators and parameters that lacked baseline, isn't it? Of the current NDC. They were identified of not having baseline, but even in the stock take, again, baseline has not been established all the way, isn't it? So many sectors were running away from those interventions because they don't have baseline. So what are they going to implement? And when are they going to put baseline? Leaders, I always give people an example that in the current NDC 2.0, we committed ourselves to do climate risk assessment for the health sector, isn't it? And they put HNAP. So they were not concrete interventions, but they were plans just. Now these have been done, isn't it? So where we are going, we don't want to expect to go back to the HNAP, go back to the risk. Now we want to see how do we translate the measures in those into implementation, isn't it? So this is the same message I'm trying to put forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now to the groups. We have proposed 6 clusters, which means 6 groups. But within those clusters are a number of sectors. As IT sets it up, Group 1 is going to handle agriculture. So that is the crop and livestock and fisheries. Okay? Are you with me? Okay. Group 2 is going to address tourism, forestry, wetlands, ecosystems, and biodiversity. They're going to come up, don't worry. Group 3 is going to handle health, education, and WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene. Group 4 will handle cities, settlements, and infrastructure. In infrastructure, address transport and energy. Group 5, disaster risk management and mobility. And Group 6, manufacturing, mining, and ICT. And somewhere in the corridors, a key issue came up that aren't we handling AI? Team ICT, help us. And you will see when it is posted that we have the moderators, just like yesterday. The Department of Climate Change and Carbon Trade is well represented in the room. And for each of the groups, we will have a moderator. They are listed. And the rapporteurs are also available. They are aware, representing those organizations. Thank you all for volunteering to help with that. If you could just scroll down to the description. Let me, okay, Jackson. Don't worry, we are coming to that. We are coming to that. Okay. So what do we want you to do? Very small font. My friends, it's a lot of work, but you're doing this for the country. 1, please review the proposed priority adaptation measures to confirm their ability for promoting adaptation and resilience building. So you're there with your thinking hat. Is this that is proposed really going to help? Does it have the ability to build the resilience that we are seeking by 2035? To examine, one, the baseline of the measures. I think that has been alluded to. The targets that are set for the period 2030-35, have a look. Does it make sense? You may not have the capacity to really adjust, but those questions that come to you are important. And we have a section for the rapporteurs for how to capture that. Examine the conditionality that has been set for that measure, but also the indicators. The sections have indicators for measuring, reporting, and verification. If in your group, a particular measure does not have an indicator, please propose. If there is an indicator, is it practical? Is the language right? Is something missing? And finally, confirm if there is any critical measure left out. Did the designers forget something important? Propose it. Now, we really wondered, how do we mainstream? These seem cross-cutting because we want them coming out from each. So gender, Jackson, instead of having it as a standalone, within the groups, can you bring out the gender considerations along those parameters if it is relevant? Please help us. The sectors may not have brought that out properly. Later, we will aggregate and see how it fits even within the chapter on gender. The second bit is loss and damage. We do not want to have a separate group.
Now, instead of treating it as a separate one, so which losses are they going to be discussing in groups? Isn't it? If you are alone, what losses are you going to be discussing? So I think we think that it is better, think about what are the losses and damages and how can they be addressed in the sector that we are going to discuss. Now, when you are comparing back the document, then we shall see how we can treat them very well in the chapter where they belong. But it is very good to understand now, these are the losses and damages that are being associated in this sector which we are discussing, and maybe this is the best way how they can be addressed. So how it will be presented in the NDC, that one can leave it to us. We shall see how we put them better, but understanding them, how they fit in various sectors, I think this is the most paramount element we want to find out in this exercise.
Thank you. And yes, gender, you're coming. I've lost the thread of my thoughts, so you ask.
Yeah, no, to emphasize, like you say, gender, if it is fixed. For me, that bit of it is what perplexed me, because I know gender is not a given. It is a right and can be mainstreamed across anything.
Even infrastructure.
Anything.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying. That's
you.
where you say if not fit. So
Okay.
members, if we come with the not fit, they will not.
Thank
So can we be deliberate to mainstream, unless the members on that table are not well in terms of integrating it where and the how, but it is not a given. It should be and must be. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice. It is loud and clear. So, unless there are questions, I'd like to move to setting us up the groups. Okay, Robert doesn't look like he wants to say anything. We will do what we did yesterday, but because there are more groups, I will take 6 tables, and then those who will not be allocated, those tables that won't be allocated, will then fit them, will split you into those other 6. So bear with me. That table is clearly health. That table is agriculture. So group 1, group 3. Am I confusing you? No? Okay. We are in class. Two worries. No. Forestry was there. Group 2, you are over there. Group 2, tourism, forestry, wetlands, systems and biodiversity. Cities. No, cities, this is a big table. Agriculture will switch to the big table. I expect more. But cities, here. And finally, manufacturing, mining, industry, and ICT. Okay? Agriculture, group 1. Group 3, health education. Group 2, over there. Group 4, you are here. Where is Sydney? Sydney is around. Yes. Then group 5. Did I mess us up? You are disaster risk. They are cities. Sorry, cities is here. You are disaster risk. And mining is number 6. I'll repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to request the table that has the walker. Anna has to move. Anna, you're a rapporteur. You will just switch, don't worry. I request your table to stand up and choose where you want to go. Yes. Agriculture, health, tourism, cities, mining, and your DRR. The table with Honorable Christine. May I move you to DRR, please? People are running away from disaster, so I need to move you to disaster. You are here. I'd like the attention of the online colleagues, our friends online who are still there. There is logistical arrangements in the room here, but I'd like to draw your attention to this session. Yesterday we missed to mine your input, but today would like to request you to kindly get involved. And for you, you are welcome to choose individually. You will not be able to do it together, but individually zoom into any sector of your choice and please give us feedback. IT person, could you just post the questions again? We welcome feedback that is written or written by email or in the chat here. We will be able to capture it. And maybe just to say it might be difficult for us to check in with you, but please figure it out, send us some information. Yes, an email has been posted where you can put your comments.
Because the last time we spoke, you said you had spoken to Wolim, and you're part of the main. I have been very participating for the last 10 years, and every year I have been extra students. I can just. How long are the discussions? Thank you. Yeah, right on this one. Oh, you want to make that?
Okay, let's see you seated in your groups. Oh, I am happy DRR has been beefed up. Thank you. Cities, you're good.
Can you continue sharing the questions? We are trying to copy the questions.
Will I have the NDC Balaba? Taking a quiz, everything going well. This is Anna. But I was thinking, it's okay. Alex.
Okay. Thank you. Now that you're settled in, Emma, could you please project? Robert is going to guide you. I know that some of you are still looking for the latest document. Within these 2 to 5 minutes, as you do that, let Robert explain the format of the feedback we are requesting for. Get together. Yes, I am.
Colleagues, I request for your indulgence. I'm told some of you haven't seen the NDC 3.0 draft. The latest version, we shared it. That is the version Anthony shared. That is the July version 2. And we have asked colleagues to share it again. Most importantly, the rapporteurs, as of yesterday, we are going to be editing in the document. But in addition, we are going to get an output. So you are going to be doing 2 tasks, editing the document and getting the output, responding to the questions as you have been shown by our moderator. So for today, I want to use the example where you have been taken through, and that is health. When you go in the version, how I wish, Emma, can you project the version? You project the NDC. I think that one, they can continue to do it. We just want to make sure the instructions are clear. You project the NDC, yes. You project the, oh, let me send you the one of yesterday. Lord. But we are using the same document as yesterday. Though yesterday we are only looking at the mitigation section. So today we are just going in front of it. Can you project? Carol, have you shared that document to the new group people of yesterday? The NDC. Okay. Mr. Mandebo, can you confirm you have received it? You have received it? Okay. You have received it? Okay. Mandebo, share also with Derek. Who else? Which group hasn't received the NDC? By show of hands, such that we share to also the group members. Which August? The August 14, yes, is the massacre. A QR code is going to be generated for you. If you have a smartphone, except indigenous peoples, I don't know people who shouldn't have smartphones. Okay, marginalized. So we are going to put for you a QR code. You just come scan and download the document. We don't want to print. We are saving forests. So the version is this. Can you go down? I want everyone to see. So it is revision 2. Go down. So I want you to go to health. So you click on health. No, up. You click on health. There, you go to health. This is education. But scroll down. It's before education. But this is transport. So go up. Health. Can you, So colleagues, can we pay attention? We are in health. Can you, so we have a priority adaptation manager. One, down. So you have heard from the climate change focal person in the Ministry of Health. He has shared the strategic. Okay. So it is now your group on health to mirror now the strategic actions he has given. Right. Yeah. He will tell you that what was after here, some interventions. Okay? There are some interventions of the strategy. You get me? Then you go into the discussion. Online people feel free to follow through. So this is what Mr. Number here. Okay. And we are going to share it. Now, for what we are shared, we are strategic priority. You can still have this discussion. Your main focus after you finish that, we're going to come to the indicator. Like you have had everyone here has been complaining about indicators. Indicators. Okay? Baseline. And we are saying if you don't have information on the indicator and the baseline, just be kind and say to be determined. If you don't know. If you know how you have information based on what is in the NDC, still you put. The moderator said 2030 to 2035, but what she meant, what are the new targets for 2030? And what are the projected targets for 2035? There are proposals in the NDC document. We look at you, the actors who have been working with these sectors. We believe you have been working with the sectors. You know what sectors are planning to do in 2030 and 2035. Then we want your explanation. We want the explanation behind whatever you are doing what? Because as we will be finalizing, we rely on your explanation. Okay? So for example, if it is climate resilient infrastructure, and maybe the indicator is the number of refurbished referrals, or number of climate smart referrals. You get me? That indicator should have an indicator basis. You should show where that indicator is cited. If it is the health NAP, then you say indicator is from the health what? NAP. If it is from the health sector strategy, you say health sector what?
Yes, I'm still for the meeting. But I didn't go for the mass. The place is.
Can you come back to the
It
NDC?
doesn't give you the good, for me, it doesn't give you a good experience of prayer, really.
You mute Caritas.
I will go later. I will go in the afternoon, in the evening, up here. It's so squeezed. Yesterday I was just standing like this, you know.
Can you take us back? I want to finish a meeting into the moderator's time. Okay. And after you share that document with the moderator and everyone, all of the moderators. Go back to health. I thought we were on the same. This I was on the same.
Okay, back here. So these are the proposed indicators as per the consultations we have had with all of you. So in your group discussion, you will visit after you have agreed on the priority action. Look at the indicator. Does it cover that priority action? And most importantly, is it one of the national documents? Like you hear one health, one strategy, something like that. Then the targets, for them, they had put both of them there. They had put a 2030 and then a 2035 target. Still go back in that template, which we are going to share. And after you have looked into the discussions and the documents, then put these targets, okay? Most importantly, we want to see the narration you are giving, because that will be the basis. I highly recommend that you use targets which have been nationally adopted. We are going to share with you the NDP 4, because it has the 2030 what? Targets. So use the national adopted what? Targets. Where there is no target and you are coming up with your target, provide the what? The narration. So it is going to be a tedious exercise. It's not going to be like yesterday. And you have seen that we are combining a number of sectors. For example, health is combined with education, and you are doing WASH. So we are looking at the Human Capital Development Program, in short. So we are bringing health, education, water, sanitation, and hygiene. So this is how the whole exercise is going to do what? It's going to move. The consultants have done their work. We are not saying discard. Use it as a what? As a basis, okay? It is better we use what is here and then build on that than starting afresh. So the documents are going to be shared to all of you to ease the discussions to flow. Over to you.
Thank you, Robert. Now, are there questions related to this? Or are we comfortable? So that table is going to come to you, the moderator, and your rapporteur by email shortly so that you can work with it direct. But in the meantime, I think it cannot be projected because he's the same person handling that. Any more questions? Okay. Colleagues, it is 1 o'clock, a few minutes into it. Do we want to have a quick test into the work? Then we go for lunch, then come back? Or do you want to determine how you want to do it? Because two things. One, lunch closes at 2:30. Secondly, I estimate that you will need a minimum of 90 minutes, preferably 2 hours. So within your clusters, you determine your modality of work, but the coupons are going to come to you in the next few minutes. Thank you. Enjoy the discussion. Anthony, the document has come to you. Please share.